is Veena from Batter Cake, the channel that's about baking and much more. Here's where you'll find quick and tasty recipes for new cooks and those with less time to spend in the kitchen. Okay then, let's get cracking with today's recipe. Welcome back. Today we are going to make something that's popularly used for decorating cakes, buttercream icing. It's a tasty and versatile cake frosting. So now let me show you my recipe for making stable buttercream icing for cake decoration with a whole lot of useful tips right here at Batter Cake. To make buttercream icing at home, we'll need salted butter, icing sugar, vanilla extract, and a little milk. Buttercream icing is easy to make, but there are some points you need to bear in mind to get it right. I'll be giving you tips and explanations as we proceed, so please watch the video till the end to get the full benefit of this tutorial. Let's start with the butter. Here I have 150 grams of softened salted butter. The butter shouldn't be too hard or so soft that it's beginning to melt. It should be soft enough to be easily pressed down with a finger and firm enough to leave an indent, like this. If the butter is too hard, your buttercream will be grainy. And if it's too soft, it will be too loose and runny. I also like to use salted butter because that small amount of salt effectively tones down the sweetness of the frosting. You could whip the butter with a whisk by hand for around 8 to 10 minutes, but an electric beater would help get the job done quicker. We have to beat the butter on medium-high speed till it becomes pale yellow in color. In this bowl, I have 300 grams of icing sugar that I have sifted. Don't skip the sifting, okay? Because icing sugar tends to form lumps. And icing that has to be piped through nozzles or piping tips should always be smooth and free of lumps or anything granular. We'll now mix in the icing sugar in 3 or 4 portions. First with a spatula because we don't want icing sugar flying all over the place. And then with an electric beater on medium speed. In place of icing sugar, I wouldn't recommend using sugar ground to a powder at home. Your home ground sugar might be really fine, but it won't be super fine like icing sugar is. Now to make buttercream icing, I'm using a proportion of 1:2 by weight. That is, the weight of my icing sugar is twice that of the butter. But by volume, this works out to almost 1:3. That is, for every 1 cup of butter, I use 3 cups of icing sugar. This is the proportion that works for me, and which I believe is the right proportion if you're living in a hot country like India. Scrape the sides of the bowl now and then to make sure the butter and the sugar are well mixed. Once all the icing sugar is added, we'll reduce the speed to low. That's because we don't want any air bubbles in our buttercream icing. Now let's add in the vanilla extract and whip the butter again for a few seconds. Finally, let's add in the milk, 1 teaspoon at a time, adding only as much milk as we need to get a medium stiff buttercream. I think we don't need to add any more milk. I'll now switch to a spatula. This step helps get rid of any air bubbles that may have formed in the icing. The buttercream is now light and smooth and fluffy and stiff enough for spreading or for piping simple buttercream designs. If you want a stiffer buttercream, add a few more tablespoons of icing sugar till you get the consistency you want. Now the basic buttercream can be modified to make chocolate buttercream by mixing in some cocoa powder, melted chocolate or chocolate ganache. You could also make different kinds of fruit-flavored buttercream by mixing in mango pulp or pureed strawberries or blueberries, or whatever fruit you want. In the hot summer months, to get a stable buttercream icing, you might need to replace around 1/3 to half of the butter with margarine or vanaspati. Both these have a higher melting point than butter and would therefore stabilize the piped icing and help it hold its shape better. It would also be a good idea to use a mix of butter and margarine for piping buttercream flowers. I'll now insert a star nozzle number 21 into this piping bag. Snip off the end of the bag. Fix the nozzle in place. And then fill the bag with some buttercream frosting. If you have extra icing left over, you could store it in a sealable plastic bag like this one or in an airtight container in the refrigerator for a week or for several months in the freezer. Bring it to room temperature before reusing it. I'm using a cake board to pipe the buttercream, but you could also use the back of a cake pan. Then just scrape it off and reuse it as you continue practicing. Now let me show you a few simple buttercream icing designs for beginners using just one nozzle, star nozzle number 21. You could pipe stars, or shells, a zigzag border, a rosette border, or pipe a swirl on top of a cupcake. And there you have it, a variety of classic designs that can be piped with buttercream icing. Practice making these simple designs and you could soon decorate your home-baked cakes like a pro. But if you have any questions, please put them in the comments box below. I'll be happy to provide the answers to all of them. Hope you enjoyed today's video and do stop by again for yet another quick and tasty recipe. Till then, take care, happy cooking!